So there's been quite a few people talking about the monkeypox lately. Here in the US, it has been spreading to quite a high degree. It definitely feels like the COVID pandemic has softened this new disease to some degree. If something like a monkeypox outbreak happened before COVID times, everyone would be freaking out. But because it really feels like people have gotten tired of watching out for viruses, the public response hasn't been too optimal. But at the end of the day, a virus is a virus, and its potency doesn't change depending on if other pandemics happened or not. So that's where we're at now. Like everything else, people managed to find a way to politicize this situation, and it certainly is fueling some homophobia against certain groups of people as well.
This is from NBC. So I'm just going to read the report. An update on the monkeypox outbreak, which may or may not come as a surprise to you. It's from NBC. It says, since the outset of the global monkeypox outbreak in May, public health and infectious disease experts have told the public that the virus is largely transmitted through skin-to-skin contact, in particular during sex between men. Now, however, an expanding cadre of experts has come to believe that sex between men itself, both anal as well as oral intercourse, is likely the main driver of global monkeypox transmission. The skin contact that comes with sex, these experts say, is probably much less of a risk factor. In recent weeks, a growing body of scientific evidence, including a trio of studies published in peer-reviewed journals, as well as reports from national, regional, and global health authorities, has suggested that experts may have framed monkeypox's typical transmission route precisely backward. Reconceiving the primary risk factors for transmission is crucial because of how it may affect guidance on reducing the risk of infection, including the question of whether demanding that people with the virus self-isolate has any substantial impact on transmission.
I found this NBC article to be quite weird in the beginning. I did read through the whole article, and later on it was giving out some accurate information and quoted medical experts, but it's portraying that in the beginning, or rather up until when this article was written, experts were saying monkeypox is transmitted primarily through skin-to-skin contact. Where was that information ever given to people? I myself certainly don't remember experts telling people that. Our information on monkeypox has been relatively consistent over the last couple of months. Of course, we're always conducting and publishing new research, science is always doing that, so some details may change, but the overall idea has been the same. Monkeypox is transmitted primarily through bodily fluids, and that includes semen, which is a major culturing site for that virus. I feel like that has been pretty clear from the beginning. It's not like COVID where experts were debating if it was airborne or not. We've seen monkeypox before it became endemic. Vaginal fluid transmission is much less clear, and we haven't really found the virus to cultivate as easily there. That combined with the fact that, straight men and gay men generally don't have sexual intercourse with each other, it makes sense why monkeypox would primarily affect one particular community here. Anyway, the point is, I didn't see experts claiming that this virus was spread just by skin-to-skin contact a few months ago. It's possible they may have hinted that being in close contact with someone who is infected could pose a risk and to avoid skin-to-skin contact, but I don't think anyone straight up said just primarily skin-to-skin contact is what spreads the virus.
So now they're finally, months later, they're finally admitting that, oh, you know what, this is actually basically an STD. This is a sexually transmitted disease. After claiming for months that it wasn't.
What do you mean finally admitting? You're framing it as if it's some sort of grand conspiracy where experts are trying to hide information from you for some malicious reason. Even if experts did say skin-to-skin contact at first was the primary driver of transmission, that would just mean that the science was updated and now we know more about the virus to update our public health advice. Second of all, this is not a sexually transmitted disease, so please stop trying to frame it like one. Just because something could be transmitted sexually does not automatically make it an STD. We have specific definitions for what fits under that category.
That, it's almost all gay men getting this, and it tends to be transmitted at orgies and that sort of thing. And it's, gay men who have 14 different sexual partners over the course of a weekend. They're the ones who are contracting this. But it's not an STD. It's got nothing to do with gay sex at all. It's just, it's really skin-to-skin contact. That's what they told us.
Matt is not directly being homophobic here, but we already know what his audience is like. The transmitting of information on YouTube isn't just done by the presenter, it also hugely involves the audience, which we already know Matt's channel is full of homophobes. How you interpret such a message is heavily dependent on your viewpoints of the subject matter beforehand. So when Matt is setting this up to make it seem like experts are purposely hiding information, and when he says things like gay men who have 14 different partners, his homophobic audience is going to use that to fuel their bigotry, which is very sad. I just don't understand why we can't just see each other as fellow human beings and solve this problem together instead of pointing fingers. Because monkeypox shouldn't just be a problem that a specific community has to deal with, it should be something we all have to deal with collectively.
And as always, they want to get away with this by saying, well, we didn't know before, so we're just learning as we go along. Well, no, but you did know before.
See, there it goes again, framing experts and scientists as the evil people who has been hiding information from us, claiming that they didn't know before when they really did. Here's the thing, even if health experts did claim that skin-to-skin contact was the main or only driver of monkeypox, which didn't happen, science is always learning. When we deal with novel viruses or when a new health risk comes into play, we're always learning as we go. Experts will give advice based on what we currently know about the new threat. As time goes on, we learn more as studies are published and we can make better recommendations based on such new information.
You knew before because I knew. Okay, I'm not a public health expert. I'm not a doctor. I knew because I just have common sense. We all knew.
There you go. You said it yourself. You're not a public health expert, so shut your mouth and listen to those who are experts.
If we can see that this is a disease that is spreading almost entirely in the gay community and that it spreads almost entirely among men who are having sex with each other, pretty good indication that this is a sexually transmitted infection.
But just because it can transmit through sexual intercourse does not mean it is a sexually transmitted disease. For example, the cytomegalovirus is not considered an STD, even though one of its primary methods of transmission is through sexual intercourse.
This does put a little bit of a different light on some other recent monkeypox-related stories, like this one, for example, from The Hill. You remember this? It says a medical journal has published evidence of the first suspected case of human-to-pet transmission of the monkeypox virus. A dog living with two men in France who were infected with the virus began exhibiting symptoms 12 days after they did. The 4-year-old male Italian greyhound, which had no previous medical disorders, tested positive after showing symptoms such as lesions and pustules on its abdomen. Now, at the time, the two gay men, apparently, who somehow passed monkeypox onto their dog, they said that it was because they were co-sleeping with the dog. They had the dog in bed. But now the public health authorities are telling us that just skin to skin, or in this case, skin to fur contact, that's not enough.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with this story at all. It's the first time I've heard of it, but Matt here is trying to imply that those two men performed sexual intercourse with their dog. Well, guess what? Just because something is primarily transmitted through intercourse does not mean it is the only way. It can be transmitted through many forms of bodily fluids, such as saliva, which enters the body of a new person through various openings, such as your eyes or even just a cut on your skin. It can even transmit through other ways, such as contact with contaminated fabric. A patient in the UK passed the monkeypox virus to a healthcare worker through the bedding. That sounds very familiar to the story you just read about the dog. I just don't understand why you always have to see the worst in people. When I heard a story like this, my first instinct is that the dog got it from regular contact or contamination. But your first instinct is to imply that they penetrated the dog. It just baffles me, the lack of humanity and sympathy you have for other fellow human beings. Always demonizing other people or setting up an us versus them mentality. Look, you said it yourself that you're not a health expert, so in that case, don't speak about public health. Instead, do what you do best and be a leech to society. Thank you for watching, and thank you to my patrons, Fireshard, Alan Morton, Miss Fixit, and Edward Martin. I'll see you in the next one.